Before starting this video, if you guys are new to this channel and if you guys want to see more videos related to web and app development, then make sure you subscribe to my channel and also press the bell button so that you get notified every time I upload any new video. And also you guys can join our Facebook group where we discuss new projects and new ideas. Links will be given in the description below, so make sure you check it out and do enjoy this video. So hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another Flutter video, and this video will be in continuation with the Flutter+Django full stack series. So this is going to be the third part. And guys, in the last part you guys have asked me that some of your servers are not working properly, and yes, so let me just tell you how you guys should run the server actually, since we'll be using Visual Studio Code for debugging our app. So we'll not be using the integrated terminal, although you can open multiple terminals, but still we'll be doing it in command prompt. So as soon as you open your command prompt, you are at the users directory or at default directory. So basically you need to shift it to the file where you have put the file. So basically my project is on the desktop, so what I need to do now is to go to my desktop. So with the help of cd desktop slash, now in my desktop the name of the project was to do app, so I'll just type in to do app and slash. So inside the to do app we had two sections, two folders, that is the app and the backend. So we had the app and the backend, so we need to go inside the backend folder. So for that slash backend, okay, then enter. Okay, so now many of you guys might be doing one mistake, is that you might just go on and type python manage.py and then run the server. Okay, but that is not how it is going to work, because we have installed Django and all our dependencies, the REST framework and everything else in our virtual environment. So first of all, we need to get access to that virtual environment, as I've told you earlier. So you need to enter the ppnv shell command. So it will just basically activate your virtual environment which you have created earlier, and in that virtual environment you guys have your Django and the REST framework installed. So we'll wait for a couple of seconds. Okay, so now our virtual environment of the backend has been activated, and here what we need to do now is to go to our to do app, the project folder. So we'll go to our main folder which contains the settings.py file, as I've told earlier. And now here we need to enter that command, that is python manage.py run server. Okay, so this is how you should be starting the server. And yes, so with this our server has been started, and as you guys can see, we can access it by going to localhost 8000. So I'll just open my Chrome. Okay, so I have my Chrome open up over here, and now I'm just going to type in localhost 8000, then enter. And in the previous video, if you guys have watched my previous videos, then in the previous video or the second part, we were actually fetching our to-dos from this API. And to fetch the to-dos, remember, you need to be first starting the API, and it should be running on your local server. And if you are planning on to host this API or the server into some external website, or if you want to make it global, then you can directly access it from the internet. And yes, so you can do that, but be sure that you first take care of the security issues which I had mentioned earlier in the previous videos. So do take care of that, and I'll be showing you guys how you guys can secure and deploy the server in the later parts of this series. But for now, let us just run our app and let's debug it. And here, as you guys remember, we were just fetching our to-dos from the API. So in this video actually we'll be adding and removing the to-dos from our app. So we'll be performing the CRUD operations. And yes, so let us wait for our app to start, and then hopefully we'll be able to continue on. Okay, so guys, we have our app over here now, and we have also fetched the to-dos from our API. Now we need to add the features. So first of all, I'm going back to my to-do.dart file, and now as I've earlier mentioned in my previous video, that we are currently extracting the response from the decoded JSON data, and we are just mapping it with our to-dos which are in our list. And now what we need to do, we need to send, since we'll be sending the data, because we'll be adding the to-dos, or we'll be making post request. So for that we need to convert that information from Dart to JSON, and there onwards we'll be sending that JSON file in JSON format to our server. So right here, after this to-do.from JSON method, so right here we'll be creating another method, and it will be of return type dynamic, and dynamic, and it will be called to JSON. And now what we need to do, we need to map the information which will be providing from our app, and to map it with the specific keys. So for that, first of all, I'm going to create the title, and in JSON, if you guys remember that basically the keys and the values are both string types. So here we are having the key as a string, and the title which we'll be using here is also of type string. So definitely we can just write here title, and we'll be providing it from our app. So yes, so title, and then we will be needing the description. So description, it will be also a description since it is of type string. And now for the ID, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to hit here ID, and it will be date time dot now. So it will be the current date time when the to-do was added. So the date and the specific time will be the ID of each and every to-do. And yes, now let's save this. And what else, we need to create a method to add the to-dos or add the tasks as we have created out here. So for that, I'm going to create a new method here in my api.dart file, and it will be void add to do, and basically it is going to take a to do. So to do as parameter, and it will be of type async and await, because we'll be sending the response, so it is going to take some time, and we do not want Dart to hold on to it, so we'll just be using the async await. So here first of all, we need to do, we need to send a request. So we need to send the request, and as soon as we send the request, which will be our post request, we'll get a response whether it was successfully sent or not. So for that, I'm just going to store the response. So response in a variable, response variable, and we're going to await for the URL. So I have this URL over here. So HTTP, since we have already imported the HTTP package, so we can use it directly. So HTTP dot now earlier we have made the get request, now it will be a post request. And in a post request we actually have to define two parameters. So the first one would be the URL, which will be this one. So I'll just copy it up, so copy it till here and then paste it here. And now we also have to define a second parameter, unlike the get method. So yes, let's pass on the body, or yes, so need to pass the body. And then in the body, what we need to do, we need to use JSON.encode. So we'll be encoding it into JSON format from Dart to JSON, and we have decoded it here, so we'll just encode it, and it will be actually the to do which will be taking as parameter. And yes, and also we get pretty much more options out here inside the post. So we get to give some headers. So I'll give the headers. So the headers would be in the headers I'm going to define the content type. So content type, and of course it will be of JSON format. So application slash JSON. Okay, let's save this. And now let's let's add some to-dos from our app. And to do that, first of all, I'm going to define a new folder inside my lib folder, and I'm going to call it as screens. So inside my screens folder, first of all, I'm going to create a new file, and I'll call it add todo.dart. So this file will basically contain our add to do screen. So for that, first of all, as always, I'm just going to import flutter material.dart, and then here I'm going to create a new stateless widget. So stateless, and it will be add to do screen. And now after that, actually I think since we are building a pretty simple app, so basically we can handle the add method here. So I'll just convert it into a stateful widget so that we can handle our methods out here, and also we can validate, and we can also submit the form. So it is basically going to return a scaffold, and inside the scaffold, first of all, we can have an app bar, and it will be an app bar widget, and it will take a title. So we'll just keep it simple for now. So we'll just write here text add to do. And now after that, after the app bar, we need to specify the body to our scaffold. So the body would be list view, since we'll be working with multiple text fields, and also the submit options. So list view, and we have some children for our list view, and the first one would be container, which is going to contain a column as a child. So child column, and inside a column we can have some children, and the first children would be a text field. So text field widget. So we'll specifying and our text field widget actually takes a controller for now, so we'll have to specify the controller or the text editing controller, and we'll be doing this right over here below our class state. And here I can specify the method, so final to do. And since we are going to basically have multiple text fields, so one for the to do and one for the description. So for that, to do title controller, and it would be a text editing controller. And after that, we are going to need to do description controller, or to do this controller, just for shortcut. And it will also be a text editing controller. So I'll just copy this up and I'll just place it here. And then what else do we need? We are fine, and let's work in the text field. So now for our first text field, we can define the controller attribute, and it is basically going to be our to do title controller. And we are also going to have another text field for our description. So right here, actually let us, okay, so now it will be another text field. So just copy this up and paste it right over here, and this one will be to do description controller. So to do des. Okay. So after that, we need a button so that we'll be able to add it. So I'm using a raised button, and on pressed, so when we press the button, it should get submitted. So for that, we need to add some methods out here. So let's save this first, and yes, let's add the on add method. So what we are going to do, we are going to create a new method, and it will be on add. So basically it will trigger whenever we hit the button to submit our text fields and to add a new to do. And first of all, it will take a final string, and here we will also be doing our validation, and it will be text validation. So validation, and it will be to do title controller dot text, and then we'll be also having the description validator. So string okay, so it would be description val to be to do description controller dot text. Okay, and then we'll just handle the basic validation. You can of course add on, you can specify the characters and all. So for now I'll just put a if statement, and I'm just going to check if it is empty or not. So if text validation dot is empty is not empty, and also we are going to check if the description validation is also not empty, dot is not empty. Then we'll be moving forward, and we'll be adding the tags, adding the to do. So title, yes, so inside of it we need the to do. So final to do, and for that we need to import the to do model. So if I click here, it gets automatically imported, as you guys can see over here. And yes, so here final to do, and it would be a to do object. And now as we know that a to do object takes a title, title would be the text validator, because we are extracting the text from our controller. And then also we had having the description, so description, and it will be yes, so it will be the description validator, or test val. Okay, let's save this, and now we need to add it to our list which we have over here. So that our main to-do list, so we need to add it over, and for that we need to trigger this method. And now with our okay, so with our on add method in our add to do the dart file, here we can basically access that add to do method. So we can access it by passing provider, and since we have provider in the parent widget tree over here in our main.dart file, so we can just access it directly. So provider dot of context, and we have the context, and also we now have actually we need to specify the provider, so it is going to be the to do provider, and then we can access the context of it. And now whenever we are going to add to do, basically we don't want to make any changes to the UI of our add to do screen. So basically the to do will be shown here in our app, so we don't have to change any UI and all the other stuff. And basically our add to do screen doesn't need to listen to any changes because it is working independently. So for that I'm just going to set the listen to false, just to optimize our app a bit. And now we can access the method, so the add to do method, and it will be the to do which we have here. Yes, so this to do now contains our title and the description, which we'll be passing from our text fields, and this to do is now passed on to our add to do method, which is in our api.dart file, which is also passed or posted to our API, or added to our API. And yes, so and if it is successful, it is also added to our list. So yes, so after that what else do we need to do over here in our add to do dart screen? So we need to add this method, the onAdd method, to our button, so raise button, so that we'll be able to submit our form. And let's add it. Let's just right here on add. So basically we're going to hit it whenever we press the raise button. So any reloading request or any render request when we load the add to do screen. And now also we have to specify the name of the button, so it would be child, and then text widget. Inside this text widget and just right here add. Okay, let's add. Let's save this, and now we need to access this add to do screen. And for that I'm going back to my main.dart file, and here what we can do, we can add a small floating action button. So over here, so for that I am inside my home page widget, which is a stateless widget, and right inside my scaffold I'm going to specify the floating action button. So floating action, okay, so floating action button, and now it will be a floating action button, of course. And here we can actually give the onPressed method. So onPressed, we want to navigate to that add to do screen. So for that I'm just going to use okay, so first of all let's define the anonymous function, and inside of it navigator dot of context dot push. And now we need to specify the material page root, and inside the material page root we are going to have the builder. It is going to take a context, and that is going to return, so let's skip the bracket first, and that is going to return our add to do add to do screen. So for that I'm just going to import it here. So import dot slash maybe screens slash to do add to do dot dart, and let's now go to that screen. So it would be add to do screen. Let's copy this up, and let's paste it here, and hopefully add us. Okay, so we need to add a semicolon over here. Okay, so now we are done, and one error we are getting here. Okay, so another semicolon here. Let's save this, and it looks okay, so it should work now. Also we have this floating action button, and we have our text fields over here. So actually let's give a child to it, so over here, so that we can recognize that it is basically to add to dos. So for that, inside my floating action button widget in main.dart file, I'm going to specify child, and it would be an icon, or yes, an icon, and icons dot add. Let's save this. Let's see what we get. Okay, so we get a small add button, so let's make it a bit bigger. So size, let's say 30 maybe. Okay, so it looks a bit bigger. Now hopefully we have access to our add to do screen, as you guys can see over here. So we get two text fields, one for the title and the other one for our description. But it is still not going to work here right now, because we are yet to complete the API .dart file, and inside our add to do method we have kept it incomplete, because since we are just posting the data, but we are doing nothing with our response. So we need to store the since we have stored the response, we need to use it. And also we have copied this URL, but we will not be needing the format JSON or the last part. And if I can show you guys, so we are at the server, so our server is running in the background, as I've mentioned earlier. So as you guys can see, we are at the localhost 8000/API/version1, that is for the version of the API. And now here, if you guys go to the bottom here, you guys can see that we get the option for our title and for the description, and we can also post them from here. So we do not get these options into the JSON or the raw JSON data, as you guys can see over here. So definitely what we need to do now here is, I have just removed the format JSON, and we'll directly be posting our data to that API. And now after this, what else do we need to do is we need to use our response, which we have up here. So for that, first of all, as I've mentioned you guys earlier in the previous part, uh, if we need to first of all get the status code of the response. So now you guys might know that if the status code is 400 or 500, then there must be something error, and if it is 200, then it is okay. So response dot, we get the option for status code, and we are going to check if it is 200 or not. So 201, and that means okay. And if it is okay, then what we are going to do, we are going to add our to-do. So to add the to-do, I'm just going to use the list. So we have the list over here. So to-dos dot add, and here we have the to-do. Okay, so one more thing which you guys I think you guys might be getting some error while fetching this information, because we have done one more thing which we have done a mistake, or maybe we just forgot to write it. I forgot to write it in my previous part or previous video. So as soon as we are making any changes, or as soon as we are making any call to our API, we need to notify it to the listeners, or whoever is listening to our UI changes. So definitely this is being listened up in our main.dart file, and we are listening to the changes so that whenever we add a new to-do, it can get showed up, and whenever we are fetching the to-dos, it just show up. So here we are still seeing the to-dos even without mentioning the notify listeners here, because we are actually running this class. So if you go to the api.dart file, and if you guys save it, then you guys will see that you guys can get access to this to-dos. But if you just reload this app, then you will not be able to see the to-dos, and I'm quite sure that you guys might be facing this problem. So let us just solve it now. So what we can do here is, first of all, in our fetch tags method, we can just define a notify listeners. So it is basically going to notify the listeners as soon as we fetch the to-dos from our API. And the same thing, since we are still making changes, we are adding our to-dos to our to-dos list. We still want to notify the interested parties so that they can make the changes, or they can make changes to the UI. So for that, I'm again going to use the notify listeners over here, semicolon. Let us save this. And I think one more mistake we are doing in our to-do.dart file is that we have our ID. Okay, so we have our ID, but right now, as you guys can see, we are defining the ID, since we are encoding it in JSON. So we are defining it as datetime.now, and it's not quite it's not quite recommended to define it here like this, because it can cause some errors, or it can show some troubles. And we also have the ID which is being defined in our server, so we have that ID. So I'm just going to write here as ID, and I'm just going to save it for now, and I'm going to close the to-do.dart file. And right back in our api.dart file, what we can do is we can feed the ID to our to-do, and we can fetch it from the server. So the server, basically the IDs are 1 2 3 4 5 6 and like that. So we are just going to fetch it. So to-do dot id equals we're going to write here JSON dot decode, and here we can just write response dot body. And since this is basically a map, so we need to access it with the key, so that is the ID, semicolon. And yes, we are getting this error because the ID is probably set to final in here, so we are just going to set it to a specific integer. So we are just going to remove the final type. So let's save this, and yes, so now we can get the to-dos. Let's save this again, and let's reload our app, and this time it is going to show all the to-dos, because we have fixed the problem, or we have just write notify listeners, which we are missing earlier. And yes, so let me refresh, reload the app, and then I will try adding a new to-do. So our app hopefully has been reloaded, And let's now try adding a to-do. So I'm going to the add to-do screen. So let's add something. So let's add subscribe now, and here in the description section we can put here subscribe to my channel for more videos on Flutter. Okay, so now let's try adding this. So as soon as we click on the add button, okay, so we still see the screen because we have not included a method, which is the navigator .pop method. So we want it to be included, so that as soon as we hit the add option, then we should be removed from this screen. So first of all, let us check if our to-do has been added or not. So I'll just use the back option for now. So yes, so our to-do has been added, as you guys can see over here. So we have to-do, which we are directly sending it to our server, or directly adding it from our app. So now let's see if it has been added to our server or not. So for that, I'm going back to my server, and right here I'm just going to refresh this, and hopefully, as you guys can see over here, we get a new to-do. And the ID here is pretty strange because it is 16. So we have 1, 2, 3 and 4 to-dos, but this one is 16 because I have tried adding some more, and I have also deleted them. So definitely this is has the ID of 16. Yes, so you can also add to-dos from here, but now as you guys can see, we are adding the to-dos from our app itself. So this is a success. And now let's fix the to-do screen, which should go away as soon as we add new to-do. So for that, I'm going back to my add to-do.dart file, and here under the onPressed attribute, I am just going to change this into an anonymous function. So here inside of it, first of all, I am going to define the onAdd method, and now we'll have to use parentheses because it is not going to run directly, and this is just going to get called inside of it. And then after that, we are going to specify navigator dot of context dot pop, so that we leave that screen after we have sent our request. Let's save this and let's try again. So I'm going to try to add another to-do. So like this video, and here like this video if found helpful. Okay, so let's try adding it now. And now as you guys can see, we don't have that screen, so we can see our to-do over here. It gets added both to our app and also to our server. So I'll just refresh this up, and yes, as you guys can see, we have this to do over here. So yes, that's it for posting the data. And now we are being able to create new to-dos, and also we can now send requests we can now send our data to the API or to the server, and then we can fetch it and display it here. So yes, so the app is almost working. And one more functionality which I want to implement in this video, although this video can get some longer, but I want to implement the delete function so that we can get a proper insight of the CRUD functionality. So if we go to our API, so here as you guys can see, we do not have the delete option. So we have the get option, we have the post option, but we do not have the delete option. So how can we use our delete option? So for that, if we go to a specific ID, so if here we have the ID of 17, and here we have ID of 4 and all. So if I go to a particular ID like ID 2, so I'll just write here API/version1/2, then we are taken to that detailed to do which we have created in our server. So if you guys remember, if you guys have watched the first part, and now here I can delete this, and also I can edit this. So put means we can edit it, and delete means we can delete it. And now here we cannot create new to-dos, and also we cannot get the list of the to-dos. So yes, this is very important. So here we cannot create or read the list and also create any new to do out here. So definitely this is a different page, and for that we need to have the ID of that particular to do if we want to delete it. So let's try and implement this in our app now. So I'll turn on my emulator over here and I'll minimize it down. So to handle the delete feature, we need to create another method in our api.dart file. So yes, let's create it. Okay, so now just under our add to do method, I'm just going to create another new method, and let's call it to do. So void delete to do, sorry, delete to do. And inside our delete to do, as I've mentioned earlier, it is we are going to be needing an ID, so the ID of that particular to do. So for that I'm just going to define a parameters, and it will be the to do parameter, or we are going to take the to do, and then we are going to access the ID. So now final response, we're going to create a response variable where we are going to store the response. So await http.delete, and now this delete takes a parameter, that is the URL, and with the URL it also takes the ID, so that it can get to that specific to do or that specific object. So for that I'm just going to copy this part of the URL from here. So right here, just going to copy this up, and after this now let's paste it here. And now after this we need to add a variable, that is the ID. So for that I'm going to use the $sign and the curly braces, and inside of it now I can specify to do dot ID, and since we have the access of our to do, we got it as a parameter. And now after that, what we can do, we can check the status code like before. So if response, and for delete it is actually the status code. If the delete has been succeeded, then it is 204. So response.status code is equals to 204. Then we are just going to delete. So to do dot remove, and we are going to delete that particular to do. And after that, okay, so this one will be to do's, not to do. And after that we are going to notify it to our listeners, because it is going to change dy. We're going to see one item less, and here we need to use async, so it is future method. So let's save this, and now we want to implement our delete feature. So to implement it, first of all I'm going back to my main.dart file, and here we get the list style, and thankfully inside the list style we have an attribute called trailing. So trailing, I'm going to use an icon button, or yes, icon button, and it should be icons dot delete, and I'm also going to give a color to it, so it will be colors dot red. Let's save this, see what we got. Okay, so now we have this delete button, but for right now it does not do anything because the on press is set to null, and we are going to use it. So to do p dot delete to do, and this delete to do is going to take to do, yes. And now we need to put it inside an anonymous function, so I'm just going to create it. So yes, just going to cut it out from here, and let's paste it over here. And we're getting an error because it is we do not have access to that to do directly, so we need to access it by to do p.todos, and this dot todos is a list, so it is going to take a particular index, and then dot we can access the to do. So the to do is basically present inside the to do's list, and we can reach out to that particular to do by using just the to do's index, and that particular index is going to specify the to do, that particular to do. So let's save this and let's reload our app, and hopefully now, as you guys can see over here, we'll be able to delete our to do's. So let's try deleting one. So I'm going to delete this one, Okay, so I guess we get some we have some error over here. So as you guys can see, we are getting the request is being sent to the delete API slash version 1/1, since the ID of this to do is 1, but we are getting an error, a status code of 301, which means there is something wrong with the URL. So as you guys can see over here, we get the we can see the status code of the response. So this is 301. So definitely we must fix something in our URL. So let's add a trailing slash over here, and let's save it now. And now what we can do, we can reload our app again, and let's try deleting it again. So I'm just going to press the delete button, and yes, as you guys can see, we have successfully deleted the to do. So if we go to our server, okay, so if we go to our server, as you guys can see over here, so let's go back to our list and let's refresh it. So as you guys can see, we do not have the to do with ID 1, so we are just starting it from 2. And now we can also delete this one. So let's delete this one, so we hopefully will not have any to do belonging to ID 4 if we refresh this out. So yes, now as you guys can see, we do not have any to do with ID 4. So yes, that is hopefully working. And also remember that there are some small mistakes which usually takes place. So we forgot to put a trailing slash over here, that's why we were getting the 301 error. And now what we can do, we can improve the UI a bit. So what I'm going to do, I'm going back to my main.dart file, and here the title, we can add some styling to our title. So I'm going to add some style, and yes, that will be text style. And I'm just going to make the text a bit bigger. So font size, let's say it's 30, and also let's, okay, 30 is a bit much bigger, so let's keep it 20 maybe. And also let's make it a bit bolder. So font weight, say font weight dot bold, save this. And similarly for our subtitle or for our description, what we can do, we can just copy this up, copy our text style from here, and right here we can paste it up. And here what we can do, instead of setting it the font weight to gray bold, what we can do, we can set up the we can first of all make the font size a bit smaller, that is 15, and we can define a font we can define a color to our font. So colors dot gray. Yes, so let's save this. And now as you guys can see, we can barely see our to-dos, so we'll just set it to black so that we can see the description. Okay, so now it looks a bit more clearer, and hopefully you guys have successfully reached here. And if you guys have found some difficulty or something which you guys are not being able to follow, then make sure you check the source code in the description. I'll put the link to the GitHub repo of this project in my description, so make sure to check it out. And also you guys can try updating, or you guys can try editing the to-dos. So that is that you guys can try on your own. So basically what you can do, you can create another new method in our api.dart file, and that will be for to edit the to-dos. And there you need to instead of delete post or read, you need to use the put method. So you need to use the put method. And yes, so that's how you guys will be able to do it. And do try it yourself. And if you found this video helpful, do like and share this video, and also do subscribe to my channel, and also support me on Patreon if you can. And till then guys, I'll be seeing you in the next Flutter video series, and stay safe, take care, and enjoy coding.